Welcome to Spooktober once again, audience. We're proud to kickstart the month off with a harmless ranking video.
We'll be ranking over 261 horror movies from S tier to haven't watched it.
Well, you guys know me and horror don't get along well, so I don't know how much input I can give, other than the classics, which don't scare me now, but used to back in the day.
Joe, I've heard you still get spooked seeing yourself in the fucking mirror, so anything pretty much scares you. Now, I know we'll likely get flack and a bit of a dent to the like and dislike ratio due to us ranking some of these films, and we haven't seen every movie on the planet. If there are any on this list that we put under haven't watched, that you guys have watched, let us know if they're even worth scouring for, or we're better off watching paint dry.
I'm on chapter 476 of that myself. Quite invigorating.
Without further ado, let's begin.
This is the tier list, and these are all the fucking movies we have to rank. It'll be a long one, folks, so get comfy.
I can see a lot of classics on here. I can actually participate in commentary for some of these.
And I can tell the amount of movies I have not watched, so we'll likely fill up the haven't watched tier with a good few of them.
I see a good few god-awful movies as well. F will be known as fuck this movie tier.
I can hear our audience angrily commenting before we've even begun.
Alrighty, 10 Cloverfield Lane starring John Goodman and Elizabeth Winstead. I barely even remember this movie, other than John being an absolute psycho and nailing his performance.
I can agree with you there. It's supposed to be a movie about survivors hiding from the Cloverfield monster. I think, like I said, John makes it remotely enjoyable.
At first I thought 13 Ghosts was the remake with Matthew Lillard, but nope. This is the original. Haven't seen it, and neither have I seen Nightmares.
Any comment on either, Joe?
I thought the one with Shaggy was the original. As for Nightmares, no clue. I thought you were asking me about Nightmare on Elm Street for a second.
Osaw is definitely a high A-tier movie for me. The sequels were definitely hit and miss, but the first movie was ingenious for what it was.
There were definitely some gripping moments while watching it, and the big plot twist at the end I could have never predicted as a first-time watcher.
I didn't like the sawing bits. But now we get to talk about Reanimator, a spin on the zombie genre that's insane but fun to watch whenever.
Same thing with Saw, being that the original was super good and then the sequels just sucked ass. Luckily, I don't see a lot of sequels here.
I don't have the slightest clue what Repulsion is.
Oh, I'm sure its fans will come raging in the comments about how we're stupid and haven't seen such a masterpiece and stuff like that. Silent Night, Deadly Night is such a gory movie, but I love it when I watch it around Christmas time. Enjoyable gorehound flick.
I still shudder thinking about the wood chipper scene.
Oh, we are definitely sending Cabin in the Woods up to S tier. It breaks the fourth wall in many ways. Even literal, so many tropes mocked and destroyed by the film. It's amazing.
On that same note, I will add Unbreakable to the same tier. Something about it is so captivating, and it makes me wonder why M. Night Shyamalan kept making disasters when we know he can make groundbreaker movies.
Money is the best answer. That and a super high ego. Mark Wahlberg would know firsthand.
28 Days Later is one of those movies that always feels like you're watching it for the first time. It's incredible.
Very few movies can achieve such a status, and this nailed it. 30 Days of Night is one of those movies that really told us that vampires can be scary and they don't fucking sparkle.
They don't? Twilight lied to me.
What the fuck is the ABCs of death? Sounds fucking stupid, and it likely sucks as well. I haven't watched, it goes. Now time to piss off Alien fans. While this isn't as atrocious as Resurrection, I cannot tell you how bored I was when watching Alien 3. Several directors came and went during pre-production. Its script was in a state of flux while the film was being shot. Oh, and Alien 1 and American Psycho go way up on this list, but American Psycho can sit at a high A only because the pacing is kind of weird.
I can't tell if that Amityville Horror is the original or the remake with Deadpool.
Both were equally painful to watch at times, and honestly were just poor adaptations. The remake could have done it justice, but didn't, sadly.
Low B, bordering high C for me. Oh, fucking hell, I almost forgot about this one. Anaconda is such a dated movie with its cheap effects and bringing in celebrities like Ice Cube and J-Lo while wasting Jon Voight. Owen Wilson was just being Owen Wilson.
Seeing Ice Cube in a movie makes it more enjoyable for me. Brother love.
Elm Street movies should go straight to A tier without any arguments. S would be too generous, as while they are great movies, the cheesiness and corniness are off the damn charts.
Damn straight, Joe. Annabelle was a fucking waste and not even scary. They tried to mimic Robert the Doll mixed in with Poltergeist, but I did not give a shit at all.
Apollo 18 was mid, nothing more.
What is it with horror movies and having John Goodman be the best character? Jeff Daniels did awesome as well, but John stole the movie. Also, fuck spiders.
Can't argue with that. John's an icon, and when he eventually passes, it will be a sad day for us all. Parody or not, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is fucking garbage. Welcome to the fuck this movie tier. Alien versus Predator. almost gets shoved into the fuck this movie tier had it not had some decent fight scenes between the two.
Birdemic is an easy F for me. Oof, the My Bloody Valentine remake. It had a lot of potential, and while I didn't hate it, I didn't care for it either. It's not really a good thing when you root for everyone to die, you know. Haven't seen Bride of Frankenstein and Oh My Lord, My Brother in Christ. This movie is a genuine classic. Easy A tier, my guy.
I'm debating on putting it in A or I put it as a high B tier. It's a great movie, but not to that extent.
You will regret that decision, Don.
Is it bad when I say that Carrie wasn't really a fantastic movie? It is pretty good, but I just can't stand the film quality of it.
The remake and the original are basically the same in my head when it comes to ranking. I wouldn't necessarily flip the channel if it came on. Children of the Corn is so stupid that it's a blast to watch. Oh baby, it's Christine, arguably even more terrifying than the car. The tune is super eerie.
Didn't they go through so many cars that it started a shortage in the auto industry?
Wouldn't surprise me at all. But it all worked out in the end, and we got a timeless classic, although it still has its fair share of stupid character decisions. The original Cloverfield, it's a film that shows that found footage is a good style to use if done well. We never see the monster like Jaws until the film decides it's time to show us.
I remember watching Creature of the Black Lagoon in theaters. Needless to say, Bodies of Water made me paranoid after that.
I don't remember it too well, but I'm curious how someone would go about remaking it. Oh, fuck me. Creep is a movie I thought I was going to hate until I watched it through and through. It's terrifying how dangerous an average Joe can be.
Hey, I'm better than average. At least that's what Jill says to me.
As much as Brandon Lee dying because of this role doesn't mean it goes high on the list. It's far from awful, but if this is the closest to an adaptation can get, I guess we can live with it. Also, it was this movie that made me hate pets, especially dogs. Fucking Cujo being hyper-aggressive with rabies and shit.
I would still try to pet Cujo, even if it meant I contract rabies and perish.
A lot of these older films tend to go over my head because there were so many horror films in the 50s and 60s that they failed to realize that making them timeless is impossible. Time to piss off more horror fans. Day of the Dead is what you get when you still have that dated look from a decade prior, and yet you could only do what was readily available. No fucking clue what this movie is.
Some of these that we haven't watched I heard were kind of shit anyway, so we save ourselves the torture, mentally. Oh boy, The Descent. I'll be honest, I barely paid attention during first viewing up until when shit really kicked off. Then on a second viewing, I really empathized with how fucking scary caving can be, especially when you throw monsters into the mix.
Yeah, I can definitely see that from your point of view. Fuck this stupid-ass movie, by the way.
This movie is Bela Lugosi's best role to me. Him, Vincent Price, and Christopher Lee were the Count Draculas of the day. Not saying the newer ones couldn't do it, but all three fit their roles with perfection, with Bela Lugosi becoming the template.
For a second, I thought I remember seeing Dreamcatcher, but I don't think I did. Same with this escape room movie, which I heard wasn't liked too well anyway. The Evil Dead films go straight to A tier for me. If Bruce Campbell wasn't Ash Williams, I don't think I would have liked the franchise much. Army of Darkness was the best one, but it's not on here, sadly.
The Exorcist is an easy S tier. If a movie like this can be considered cursed, then we know it has done its job too well.
Fuck this stupid-ass Flatliners movie. The potential it had got squashed like a pest. I don't know if this is the original or the Jeff Goldblum remake, but either way, they both are highly enjoyable with the remake going the extra mile when it comes to using practical effects for body horror. Frankenstein is a classic, Nuff said. Not the best, definitely not the worst. And I've never seen Freaks, nor have I heard anyone talk about it.
Next one's gonna be a fucking doozy. I love Freddy vs. Jason, but it's only a guilty pleasure, and I know how bad it is if you took out the fight scenes.
Hell on earth production-wise, I've heard.
It's why it's so hard to rank, because the fight scenes are highly enjoyable. Although the whole thing about Jason being terrified by water is a fucking piss-off due to the films disregarding that. Middle of the road, better than Children of the Corn.
I don't get why they chose only to include Friday the 13th Part 2 in this list, but I guess when you consider it to be the start of the Jason Voorhees we all know, at least before the iconic mask, it's pretty good.
Our haven't watched tiers piling up every minute. Might have to make a note of these in case we got people shocked that we haven't seen this film or that film. I'm glad they included the original Fright Night and not the remake with fucking McLovin. By the way, this is the dumbest horror film premise ever. Being stuck on a chairlift, my God, that's stupid. The original had so much class and cleverness, and it felt realistic, like the protag actually had a fucking vampire as a neighbor that wants to fuck his mom. Also, a good few of these classics, like Godzilla from 1954, will be low Bs only because they're severely dated.
Grave Encounters is S, nice choice. Halloween 2 is also an S, in my opinion. Just as creepy and unnerving like the original. Hannibal is super enjoyable and disturbing, mainly due to Anthony Hopkins nailing his role.
I can't even count how many films we've gone through already.
Well, we're not even halfway through, I don't think, so this will definitely be a longer video. Our viewers won't mind. I don't think. Oh God, not this stupid-ass movie. Fuck this dumbass movie and fuck M. Night Shyamalan for ruining Mark Wahlberg's reputation.
Happy Death Day had a pretty decent premise when it came to being in a time loop to die over and over again until a solution was found.
I like my classics, but I'm sorry, The Hills Have Eyes wasn't that great when it came out. The remake blew it out of the water. I've heard whispers about this Japanese horror film called House, which is supposedly a pretty scary movie, but from the clips I've seen, it's too insane for me to do a full sitting. Never got around to seeing House of Usher, didn't know anyone that even knew it.
This is the remake for House of Wax, and while it's not the best horror film or remake I've seen, it does a pretty good job being super unnerving and pretty creepy when you discover what's underneath the wax people in the house.
There's another horror movie named Hush. I only know of the 2016 one and not this one. Might have to look into it later.
Oh, here we go with another film to piss off the defenders. I really wanted to love I Am Legend, and I really wanted to consider it an all-time favorite, but what the fuck happened in the third act and the ending? Talk about what the fuck did I just watch moment. I don't remember wait a second, yes I do, fuck this movie.
Insidious is definitely something that can go in any of the higher tiers. It's done things to revitalize the paranormal genre ever since Paranormal Activity fucked it up, and I respect that.
I vaguely remember being okay with the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Not sure whether this is another version, a remake, or the original.
Oh, fuck me. I forgot about I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's a typical slasher flick that you can enjoy either being drunk off your ass or high as a Chinese weather balloon. It's a decent watch. Who the fuck thought Jack Frost was a good idea for a goddamn horror movie? What shit did they have to smoke for it to be a thing? Oh, and Jaws is an S tier, no questions asked?
I have a soft spot for the Jeepers Creepers movies. Yes, they're over-the-top, violent, with some stupid-as-hell moments in which the third installment completely fucked it up, but the first two movies I thought were a fun time with friends.
I wonder if Hollywood will ever try and remake Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Jennifer's Body was really a bit of a surprise for me because I believe this was relatively close to the first Transformers live action movie where Megan Fox showed off her tits. I mean acting chops. She did pretty okay here. Now I did shit on Jack Frost for being an awful movie, but Krampus here is how a Christmas horror movie should be done. Silent Night, Deadly Night was just a gore fest with not much horror, but Krampus here really made you feel like this was Santa's other half. Now, while Warwick Davis was the best part of the Leprechaun movies, they generally all were pretty fucking terrible, and you needed the strongest weed to get through them without dying on the inside.
This is a unique remake because the original film was a Swedish movie called Let the Right One In, and this is one of the better Americanized remakes that I can think of. Well, I saw a couple others on the list I consider great as well.
Little Shop of Horrors goes straight to the top of A tier. I don't want to hear any arguments otherwise.
Still hate what Steve did to my fucking teeth. Also, does anyone remember what happens in Mama? I've seen it, but can't recall anything scary. Creepy, mainly.
Vincent Price, I love you, but I unfortunately have not seen this film.
I want to say I've seen Mimic, but I do not remember a thing about it. Sorry to say, but I'm going to put this in haven't watched, although it likely is sitting in the back of my mind tucked away.
The original My Bloody Valentine is leagues better than the remake.
Oh, the days when I was young, when I saw Nosferatu on our home television, and even now the guy who played Nosferatu was superb.
I only saw Oculus once, and while I don't want to go back and watch it again, I can say I had a decent time, not really offensive or bad, just mid.
If anybody says the new Omen movie is better than the original, punch them in the neck for being so incorrect.
All right, so we got one movie that can go in the fuck this movie tier, and Paranormal Activity, the marked ones, can also go in the same tier for being so far off from where it started that it's just fucking stupid now. I'm pretty much going to assign the Paranormal Activity sequels from bad to good in this list, aka the original and its first sequel are the only ones really worth watching unless you like getting cheaply jump scared for the sake of being goddamn lazy.
Gonna be honest, never was a fan of Pet Sematary, either the remake or the original. The remake tries to be more serious and more gritty, but kind of falls flat, and the original is just hilariously bad. You fucking expect me to be afraid of a 3-year-old that looks like he's shitting himself with that angry face he's trying to put on? It's more adorable than scary.
The tall man from Phantasm spooked the hell out of me when I first saw him. Makes me terrified to meet people from the NBA.
Once again, Piranha is a good movie for its time, but it is aged not the greatest like the others. I legit thought this was the stupid remake of Poltergeist, but I think I can attest to this being the original movie. In that case, it goes in the S tier, hands down.
I think the remake has the clown doll as the cover art, so you're safe. The next movie we have on our list is Predator. It's S tier. I don't want to hear no bitching about it.
I was there in that movie, you know. Don't forget about me.
Get the fuck out of here, Jesse. Anyway, here's going to be another movie to piss off people. I personally didn't like Prometheus that much. Whatever lore it added got squashed by the stupid fucking people in the movie. It ruined the entire experience for how dumb they were. But it's not the most offensive thing I've seen.
Psycho goes in the S tier. The guy who played Norman Bates convinced me so hard that he was legit insane. Why is Resident Evil listed? Isn't that a video game?
It's the movie adaptation. It was done poorly, but it at least was mildly entertaining.
I thought that was End of Evangelion. But it's apparently Rosemary's Baby, in which I've not seen, and same for Scanners.
Now we've gotten into the Scream movies. I thought the first couple were good, the original being an S tier, honestly, but then it kept dragging on and on. But apparently the newer one goes back to its roots, I believe. Might take some time to watch that one. Oh God, where do I even put Silent Hill? It's one of the more okay adaptations, but because of that, I don't know where I would put it on this list. Silent Night, Bloody Night. I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I wasn't giving it a standing ovation or anything.
And now we have Sinister 2, the movie in which I think divided the fan base hard. Or maybe I'm thinking of another movie. I just thought it was okay overall. The original Sinister I thought was pretty good for what it was. Take Insidious and crank the creepy factor to 11.
Sleepy Hollow is such a guilty pleasure for me because I know how corny it is, but Johnny's performance and having Christopher Walken be in it as Christopher Walken is a big plus for me. Slither is a movie I can only watch sparingly due to how graphic it is. That in the movie Splinter, in which I'm shocked is not listed. Nah, fuck this Shane Dawson piece of shit movie. He's scum, and so is his movie.
Oh, Lord, we about to talk about snakes on a plane now. Samuel L. Jackson is the GOAT, enough said people.
Son of Frankenstein. Looks like a movie I'd hate from the start. Haven't watched it. I remember really liking Splice for what it was, despite the middle-of-the-road reviews.
I've never seen this movie in my life, and I'm pretty much ancient. Suspiria, both the original and the remake, were super confusing to understand, but I never found myself hating either. They were both intriguing in their own right.
The Babadook is Australia's best horror film, at least to me. I don't know what their record is for horror films, but they know how to scare the shit out of you psychologically. I found The Invisible Man to be pretty disturbing for the time it came out. I'm not sure how a remake would go, but if they ever do it, it'll likely get neutered into a PG-13 rating like most fucking remakes do.
The Wolfman, just like Frankenstein, is an all-time classic. The 2010 version of The Wolfman was pretty damn good as well, but it's not on here. If anybody says they weren't throwing up in their mouths when watching Autopsy of Jane Doe, they are fucking liars.
Alfred Hitchcock's movie The Birds is also one of those all-time classics. The dude really knew horror during his time. It sucks that they didn't list the remake of The Blob, because while the original was also good, the remake did everything better, from the VFX to the gore to just the entertainment factor itself. It's not bad though.
Just like Mama, I did not think The Boy was scary or even remotely memorable. No idea what The Craft is. Probably a British movie. I'm glad the original Fog movie is here since it was pretty fucking disturbing and creepy. The remake lost all tension and it should have been fucking easy. All right, another shit movie to send to the F tier, and oh boy, The Grudge. Whether it's the original or the Americanized version, both are equally fucking disturbing, and whenever I hear someone or something do the clicking noise, I panic a little.
I almost forgot about The Haunting until I remember Owen Wilson's stupid line.
These carvings are really creepy.
I don't know if this is the remake or the original, but I do love both of them. Same league as Autopsy of Jane Doe. Now hear me out. The Mist movie adaptation was as good of an adaptation as it could get. I mean, the show fucked it up and left us on an indefinite cliffhanger, so this is the best we have.
Boris Karloff was like a second coming of Bela Lugosi in the form of horror back in the day. Dude could do anything, but when it's in black and white, it kind of loses its appeal when color TV came out.
I didn't really care when I was watching the others. Nothing about it really stayed in my mind for long, whether it was the story or the atmosphere. The first Purge movie I found to be pretty creepy, but also highly unrealistic. I mean, who would turn a day into an all-out killing spree in the country to try to relieve the citizens of built-up stress and rage?
Black Friday.
Shit, you're right. Maybe it is based on a true story secretly.
Even though this is the American version of The Ring and it kind of tones down the stuff from the original, I still love watching it, even if it's nightmare fuel at times. Even though Stephen King didn't like Kubrick's adaptation of his book, at least he did a far better job than when King himself tried making an adaptation closer to the book. That shit was ass.
Once again, I'm going to make people mad. Signs was a fucking stupid movie and I will not get added for it. Seriously, water hurts the aliens? The earth is mostly water. What the actual fuck? I will say that The Village was pretty mid coming from Shyamalan. We almost expect him to make terrible movies, but this was a step up for someone like him.
The original Wicker Man had more mystery and more eeriness compared to what the remake did. Don't worry, we're prepared to rank that one almost immediately. I'm sorry, but even though I haven't seen the original 13 Ghosts, I can tell it's probably a far better film than this piece of shit. Shaggy, we love you. But this was a poor choice of film to be in. Tremors is an all-time favorite for me. If Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward weren't in it, I might have not liked it as much.
Trick or Treat has become a staple in the Halloween tradition for me. I always watch it on or around Halloween because it's so well done, and I don't think I could see any other film other than Halloween itself become a traditional practice. Holy fuck, there's still a good chunk of films to go through, and I don't know why Coraline and 9 are listed here, but hey, we ball. Tucker and Dale versus Evil is what you get when you copy the homework of the kid sitting next to you, that being Evil Dead, and try to replicate it in your own style. Van Helsing, I have a soft spot for this movie, but I cannot deny how boring it is during the non-action bits. Hot female vampires didn't make this any better.
Velvet Buzzsaw was a bit of a surprise for me. I saw advert after advert and I couldn't quite figure out what it was. It's an art film and a gore fest with some Final Destination sprinkled in. I had a decent time with it. VHS is also a movie that surprised me. It's a found footage movie of where guys watch tapes like an anthology, and the plot twist was pretty interesting to me.
Not the beast! Ah! Open my eyes! Eyes! Ah! Ah!
World War Z was ass, by the way. Zombieland, I still have fun with despite how corny it is, but it's corny on purpose, I think. I'm glad they didn't include the sequels to Final Destination. The first one I found to be pretty good for what it was, and it introduced a new kind of thing in the horror scene, I believe. No idea what they call it, though. Salem's Lot, I should rewatch this movie, but overall I found it to be decently enjoyable, not really offensive.
I think the Lost Boys' only audience is horny moms that regret marrying their husbands and wish they would have hooked up with the guys here. Other than that, it's not really scary, mid at best.
I'm confused as to why Coraline is here, but I thoroughly enjoyed it and still do whenever it comes on. It really does have its creepy moments that even get under my skin to this day. Is Alien Covenant even considered a horror film? I mean, it's more of a thriller than a horror. Anyway, I had an all right time with it. No hate and no love for it either. Aliens, on the other hand, goes straight to S tier. I'm not going to argue about its placement.
Fuck any movie that has to do with Annabelle. They keep trying, but it never fucking works. Stop it. A Quiet Place was kind of like Bird Box to me. They both were put under a strict condition and they had to follow through, or else the movies would not make sense. For this, it was they had to be mute at all times. But why have a fucking baby in this world that cries and makes the mother wail in pain? That's fucking stupid. As above, so below is one of those rare cases where found footage kind of makes sense. And I really did feel a sense of fear for every level they went down and experienced a different kind of hell.
Basket Case was kind of insane, but not in a really good way. In fact, I found it to be kind of stupid.
The hell does stupa mean?
I meant to say stupid, Joe.
Black Christmas has been known to be the first slasher ever made, as far as we know. For a guy that can carry a heavy shoulder camera while climbing on the side of the house and not fall, it's pretty good for what it is.
Black Swan is kind of forgettable, honestly. It's been kind of a trend in this video to call a lot of these movies not memorable or forgettable, but that's the best way to describe some of these. Now, the Blair Witch Project is far from forgettable. This pioneered the found footage genre to what it is today. Some tend to fuck it up, but when they're good, they can be really good. Why the fuck do we have Buffy the goddamn Vampire Slayer listed here? Who the fuck did this? It's a show, not a goddamn horror movie. Fine, whatever. Get it out of my face.
Can we even talk about this one without getting the yellow symbol on this video? It's a movie that some would call illegal, and I don't feel comfortable talking about it. And for those that are listening and not watching, it's a movie filmed in 1980 that starts with two words starting with a C and a H. Now, this might be a piss off to some people, but the reason I don't consider Child's Play to be an S is because of this line right here.
I have a date with a 6-year-old boy.
What, is 6 the limit for you, Joe? You prefer them to be 12 instead?
Fuck off. Anyway, A Clockwork Orange is a superb film that really disturbs the shit out of you regardless of the time it came out.
I didn't really care for the Cloverfield paradox. Only the last 10 minutes were even worth it. The Conjuring one is better, I said it.
Don't Breathe was another interesting movie with a forced condition, but I didn't really care if the people died. I almost rooted for the villain. King Kong, iconic, but it's super dated. Shouldn't even be considered horror anymore. Ugh, fucking hell, I threw up in my mouth thinking about Human Centipede. Its whole shtick is to be as gross as humanly possible. It is horrifying to watch, though.
I believe this is Sam Raimi's horror film after he did the Spider-Man movies. It's pretty creepy and nail-biting the entire time. Hold on a second, didn't we already rank creep? What's going on here? We still see the movie as an S, but what's the other one? Might leave it up there for now until we do a little bit of investigating. Maybe the people can tell us what the other one is.
Donnie Darko is one of those films that get a huge cult following years after its release, and I can't tell whether I love the movie or I'm just mid with it. Can never really answer that.
Brightburn is pretty good for its concept. It's basically like if you took Homelander and made the kid 10 times evil. A what-if kind of thing.
Night of the Living Dead is what really kicked off the zombie genre in horror movies. It's really well done other than the zombie effects, but I can chalk that up to the sign of the times.
Well, I've heard things about Eraserhead, but I've never sat down to watch it, and the only reason I would ever watch Elvira was to wish I had her as my wife.
I wanted to give Get Out an S ranking, but even though it could be more scary for someone of my skin color, I can really see how it wouldn't really hit home for everyone. It's a decent movie, though. Scratch that. I'll call it a good movie.
That's a lot of fish.
Oh, you want to know what's worse than that? Wasting Bryan Cranston and making sure that you can't fucking see anything and we focus on the stupid-ass humans instead when motherfucking Godzilla is fighting monsters. What a bunch of bullshit this was. Grave Encounters 2 took what the original did well and tried to fuck it all up, and it made no sense. No idea why they made a sequel other than to try and milk the cash cow. It was dry immediately. Gremlins is a good time no matter what month it is.
Halloween goes straight to S tier. Same with Trick or Treat. It's a tradition to watch both. Rob Zombie's versions, not so much.
Hereditary is another very good psychological horror, and the actress who played the mother made me fucking scared shitless for all the facial expressions she could make, like, holy shit. Hostel was primarily just a good time for gorehounds. They tried upping the ante for the sequels, but the first one had a pretty good sense of horror.
Hush, I thought was a really clever horror movie. It's a home invasion movie, but the main character is deaf. It's a decent watch, but nothing too phenomenal.
I was going to question why Watership Down is on here, but for all the trauma it inflicted on the kids of the late 70s into the 80s, I'm not going to argue why it's here. Hot take. The first It movie was very much mid other than Tim Curry's performance, although he was more charming than scary. Jill brought me to a local theater to watch the remake, and let me tell you, Bill Skarsgård is a terrifying horror actor. Holy fuck, he was scary.
Does anybody really remember Legion? I thought it was just a clusterfuck of confusion. I guess I can kind of see why 9 is here since Tim Burton worked on it, and Tim is a masterclass to animated creepiness dipped with horror themes. Mandy's just a dumb fun time watching Nicolas Cage be brutal. Basic popcorn flick.
Misery made me super scared of seeing Kathy Bates on the big screen since the movie. From Super Nice to Psycho in a snap.
I guess Mother can be a horror movie once you've seen it and picked out the underlying themes of it. Kind of cool, not a favorite though. A Cabin Fever is a hit and miss movie for me. I like it, but it's also something that I can't really tell why I like it. It's a confusing relationship with me.
I found It Follows to be a pretty decent movie once I found out why the monster was always slowly walking towards the protag. It's all about STDs and how they'll slowly creep up on you and eventually kill you. No idea what the hatred is, but Orphan was a movie I swear was everywhere when it came out. It had a good few creepy moments, and it still kind of keeps that to this day, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again.
Gerald's Game could have been a superb movie, and some see it that way, but I just found myself shrugging and looking at the time when watching. Planet Terror is basically another insane Robert Rodriguez movie, but this time he has a hot woman with a gun attached to her leg that can somehow function without pulling the trigger. Eight-Legged Freaks is fucking stupid, and yet I absolutely adore it. It's not meant to be taken seriously whatsoever, and they know it.
Sleepaway Camp is what you get when you want Friday the 13th, but you replace Jason Voorhees with a weird trans kid person thing. An American Werewolf in London still to this day has the most grueling transformation scenes I have ever witnessed, makes it super realistic. Pan's Labyrinth is a super strange horror movie, but its practical effects are amazing. It's not just horror either, it's like a blend of multiple genres.
Remember when I said when found footage is good, it's really good? Well, that's the case for Wreck, a 2007 Spanish horror film that follows an anchorwoman and her cameraman as they go inside an apartment to investigate strange shit. It's pretty damn terrifying when we are the POV for the movie. Another M. Night Shyamalan movie, Split. However, Split to me has got to be one of the most terrifying depictions of split personality disorder. I mean, it's to the extreme here, but my God, John McAvoy always has me on the edge of my seat. Fuck the goddamn bye-bye, man. What a stupid fucking movie that was. Same goes for La Llorona. Like, why can't they get supernatural shit right anymore?
The Forest was a blatant snorefest for me. Even though The Nun was a spin-off from The Conjuring 2, it doesn't really hit the spot when it comes to horror.
I never really liked the Phantom of the Opera movies, not really that exciting to see anymore. Silence of the Lambs, however, goes straight to S tier, all because of Anthony Hopkins. Nobody can be a better Hannibal than him. I would rank The Sixth Sense higher, but my God, the amount of times it's been playing on broadcast killed any sense of excitement when it's on.
The Thing is my all-time favorite movie and horror movie. I fucking love watching it all the time. Even the prequel wasn't that bad. The Tommyknockers, though, is a fucking disaster. Cheap as hell effects, and if you asked me what happened during it, I couldn't tell you. Fuck this movie. Fuck the Tooth Fairy as well.
I found The Witch to be a cool take on horror when set during 1630s England. Truth or Dare is a stupid-ass movie. I'm not sorry.
The Underworld is a decent watch no matter what. Not really an S tier, but I have no real complaints. Unfriended, however, can go straight to the fuck this movie tier. Getting haunted through the internet for unfriending someone, what a load of shit. This movie really pissed me off, like I couldn't keep my cool and was just fuming throughout my entire time watching The Winchester.
Your Next had a lot of potential, but kind of flunked it.
Seven isn't really a horror movie, but because it's here, it goes straight to S tier. You'll know why I say that once you've seen it.
Holy fuck, we just went through 261 films in one video. I mean, we put a good bunch in the haven't watched tier, but maybe come next year. Or if we do another ranking during Spooktober, our opinions may change. Anyways, thank you for watching the whole way through if you did.